Hello and welcome back. It's almost 3 a.m. I can't sleep, so I thought I'd come in and do a craft with you. So I said we were going to start making Grandma some crafting supplies, and that's what we're going to do. So first I have taken a piece of just plain chipboard, and I'm going to make her a cutting mat. Just going to be making one of the green ones. Make sure I get the sides as well as the top painted. And I'm just going to push that aside to let it dry. Okay, while that's drying, let's get started on Grandma's little paper pad here. What I've done is I've cut some 1-inch squares of paper. That'd be 12-inch paper, like a big paper pad. And what I'm going to be doing with those is making them just like we would a miniature book. I'm going to take my glue. And I'm going to apply a generous amount to one end of my papers. I'm just going to let that sit, and I'm going to let that dry. And when I let it dry, I'm going to put a binder clip over the top just to hold it together really well. Make sure my pages are even, and clip it together and let that dry. Oh shoot. The one was my back piece, so it does not go on yet. So yeah, let's just make sure we have glue spread out good. I'm going to re-glue now. Spread it out good so it covers the top of all the pages. Get them all nice and evenly lined up. Put on the binder clip, and we'll set that aside to dry. Now the third thing we're going to make is going to be really simple and really quick. So what this is just a cylinder of paper. It's open. I just wrapped it around, I think it was a paintbrush handle or something, and then I just put some glue on the bottom, glued it to another piece of cardstock. This is just cardstock. And we're going to make her a really simple, quick little thing to hold some of her crafting tools. So what I have here is, I have washi tape, only this is like a cloth tape. And I'm just going to wrap that around there. If you wanted, you could paint yours. You could use a different sort of washi tape. You can decorate it however you would like. I'm going to be using this as soon as I get the backing to peel off, and that is the problem with this. The backing does not like to peel off. I'm going to need to get a pokey tool. That might work. Let's try this. This stuff is really, really honestly hard to separate. There we go, I got it. So I'm just going to try. I've already cut the washi tape down to the size I need. And I'm just going to try to get it to go evenly over my little cylinder. It's very sticky. And it does stretch. So now that it's around the cylinder, I have a little excess at the top because it stretched on me. Let's take my scissors and go around the top and cut it off. There we are. A really cute little holder for some of Grandma's craft supplies. I've got a pair of homemade scissors that, if you get really close, don't look much like scissors because they're kind of dented and bumpy. What it is a hook for a hook and eye set, and I just tried to straighten it, and these were number 2 hooks, and they are very tough to try to straighten even with pliers. When you put it in there, looks like a little pair of scissors. I also was just goofing around earlier, and I just cut an 1/8" strip of paper, craft cardstock, and I just put some little lines on it. Barely see to do the lines. And so I made her a little roller, and I'll stick that in there with the little scissors. Cute. Alright, well, as soon as that other stuff is dry, we'll get back to it. Alright, so it's the next morning. Let's see if our little projects are ready. And unclip the little paper pad. As you can see, there are little papers. It really opens. And now we're going to put on the cover and the back. So I've cut a small piece of paper for the back, and I should have went ahead and, honestly, I should have just glued that to it. But it'll hold this way too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my glue, let's zoom you in a little bit. Focus, thank you. Oops, sorry, wrong way. So I'm just going to apply another good line of glue to the top of this. Smooth it out with my finger a little bit, but I want quite a bit of glue on there. Then I've taken this piece of regular scrapbook paper, where am I? And I just folded the end over, and I'm just going to be laying that over the top. Putting a little glue on the back so that it holds to the back piece of cardstock I have. I'm just going to push it down on there. Making sure I get it all the way over so that it glues to the back. I'm just going to squeeze that. And again, I'm going to clip it only. This time I'm just going to clip that edge. Oops, maybe not. Actually, I think it's holding quite well without it. I'm going to push it down so I have a nice flat edge up there. And I don't want to open it too far right now, but there we have it. Our little paper pad full of little papers that Grandma can use for her scrapbooking or whatever else she does. So there's that. I had to put a second coat of paint on the little craft mat because it just didn't look right. I had some faded spots. So I put a second coat on there, and it's just about dry right now. So I am going to attempt something, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to have to repaint and do it over. I am no good at painting very tiny lines. I tend to shake. So what I'm going to do, let's put this under it, edge out of the way, get the color there out of the way. Over here where you can see it. Switch my camera over just a little. The shoe on this camera is getting loose, so I will be adjusting that, but I didn't realize it at the time I started the video. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to take my ruler and I'm going to try using a Jelly Roll pen on it. And we'll see where that goes. And if that doesn't go, well, it doesn't go. I'm just going to eyeball how much room I need around the edge. And we'll see if this will write in the paint. It's making a faint line, but I can always trace over the top of it. Sorry, I'm trying to get everything all lined up here. And I'm not going to be fiddling with trying to put numbers on this, just simply because it's so small. And truthfully, the pen does not really want to write on the paint. I have two of these. One of them is a little better about working than the other, so we'll see. But as of right now, this one is putting the lines on. And I'm going to, I want to just eyeball it because I feel I do better that way than when I measure. But I also want it even, so I'm a little up in the air. I'm going to try to go about every 1/8 inch. My lines are never even. And unlike a lot of craft mats, mine has 13 spaces if I do this right. Yeah, we're going to forget number 13 out there, so we're going to have I think we're going to have an uneven number. We'll make it work. Should have eyeballed it. Yeah, that last one is going to get a little big, I think. I'm not going for true to scale on this simply because it is so small. It's not going to be accurate. Some of my lines may be a little off. Alright, so we're going to go with that. There it is, our little cutting mat. It turned out pretty cute. So that's Grandma's cutting mat. So now, before I can go on with anything else with our project, I'm going to be mixing up some mold putty, and I'm going to be molding these little things that look like bottles. If you can see that, and then I have one that has a longer neck on it, but it can always be cut off after it's molded. These are the ends that cover the ends of the probes on a multimeter my brother bought, and they really do look like little bottles. This one's kind of weird with the long neck, but we can, like I said, we can cut it down. So always be looking. He's the one who suggested that to me when he got the meter. He said, hey, you know what, those look like little bottles. And I said, hey, you're right, let me mold them. He said, fine. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to attempt to make a mold for those. One of them anyway. Because Grandma's going to need some glue. And possibly some other supplies. So I'm just kneading it together. You use equal parts of the putty. As close as you can get in my case. And then you just knead it together really good. And you only have so much time to work with it once it's kneaded. But usually that's plenty of time to get whatever you're trying to molded. So I'm just going to make sure I work this through really, really good. Because I really want this to work. I think they give you about a time limit on how long to knead because, you know, you need more. You need time for your mold to set up, and it does set up rather quickly. I think it's something like 20 minutes it takes for it to completely set up once you're ready. And then it's silicone, so it's flexible. It sets up somewhat hard, but also flexible. So I'm just going to try my best to kind of make this into a square shape. I know that the bottle, when I put it in, is going to push the mold out anyway. So this is very, very soft right now. So let's go ahead with the little red one and let's push it in and see what we can do. I'm going to be moving the putty because I know that the bottle, because it takes up space in there, is going to be moving my putty around. And so I want to get it, my mold, as flat as I can, as straight as I can. You don't have to. You can just throw a glob of mold around whatever you're molding, and it would be, or mold the putty around whatever you're molding, and it would be fine. But I see like I have an indent there at the bottom, which means it could have been, you know, close to poking through. It would be nice if it would stand up. I will not be able to use this with UV resin because UV resin does not go through surfaces that are not clear. It will, but it takes forever, or you end up with a half-done project. And then you have to take it and flip it over, and in this case that will not work. So this will not be used for UV resin, but it can be used for clays. And hot glue, I'm sure. Alright, well we're just going to let that sit there for 20 minutes and see how that one goes. If it goes good, I'll mold the other one off camera. There it is. Right in there, and I just put the bottom of the little probe cover just even with the top of my putty, because that's going to give me a nice flat even surface when I do mold it. Right now I'm just making sure that the edges are up so that I don't have a wonky bottom. Just making sure the edges of the mold putty are flush with the edges of what I'm making my little bottle. So there we go. We'll leave that about 20 minutes or so, and we'll come back and see how it does. So while I was gone, taking a little break, I made what looks like an open thing of scrapbook paper. I also added the words Home Sweet Home to this one. That's the paper collection. And I've decided Grandma is going to be in the process of making a little journal. So I just cut some little pieces of paper and folded them what I thought was about the right size. So that's a signature for the journal. Okay, so I brought Grandma's desk back into the picture, and let's put some of the little things we've made on Grandma's desk. Now I did go ahead and make an open paper pad, and also I didn't do this on camera because it was an experiment. I have an ultra super tiny needle with some thread on it because Grandma is making a journal. I also just took some little pieces of paper and folded them, stuck them in so that she's in the process of making a signature. And I made a teeny tiny craft knife. And again, I was just using the wire. I stripped the end, cut it in an angle, and just dipped it in some Testors model paint and painted the other part of the wire. The little needle I made, I also took some very, very thin wire, some of this orange that I have. It's very tiny. And I stripped the wire off of it, and I left a good sized piece, and then I twisted it really tightly. And I did fold the end of mine over. Get the tweezers. Let's see if we can show you. It's so hard to hold on to, it's so little. And it's not really straight because this wire is very soft because it's so tiny. But I did attempt, and I don't know if it'll even focus, to make a little eye so I could thread through it. It was not real difficult, but it was very fiddly. So I'm just going to start, I think we're going to just glue some of this stuff to Grandma's desk. So of course we want the craft mat we made. And it is just going to be glued down because I don't want it moving around. I'm not going to redo this for any reason. I could use the wax stuff I have, but I want to make sure my little pieces don't go anywhere. My glue is getting clogged up. I left it open overnight. I forgot to shut it. Okay, just enough to tack that down. And let's get that on there. Probably sitting a little closer to the edge there for Grandma so she can see what she's doing. We need our little cup we made with the scissors, ruler, and pencil, and I will be adding to that, I'm sure, at some point. Get a little bit of stuff on there, and we're going to put that right here where she has easy access to the material she needs for making it. We are going to glue the little journal, which I am debating gluing the pages in, but I don't think if I don't, I guess we're probably going to have a problem if I don't. So let's take it apart. There's only a very few pages in here because I did use some scrapbook paper, and I was just going to take a dot of glue to hold the pages in. Not much. I just want it to look like the little journal is open and she's working on it. I had two papers there. Didn't know that. I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of glue in that one. And we will stick in, I had a little piece of scrapbook paper here. Oh, I'm using it. Never mind. And then I'm just going to stick another little page in. And see, it's the same problem you have with the regular journals. Your pages are bulging out past where you want them. So I'm just going to snip them off best I can. There we go. Now I'm going to glue on the green page, which was off a Christmas card that one of the ladies I care for at work gave me, which I thought was really sweet of her. Okay, so there's our little journal signature. And I'm just going to be putting a little bit of glue on that. And I'm going to glue it down to the craft mat. And then since oh my gosh, where did my little needle go? I wasn't even thinking. Uh-oh. Oh, I hate to go to all that work and have it. I should really have cleaned off my area first. I really wasn't thinking when I did that. So I'm going to glue the little craft knife onto the table. And again, I think just a tiny bit of glue will do. I really don't like using tweezers. I know that's really hard to see, but there it is so far. I think it's looking really cute. My little needle and thread are here. And when I find them, which are probably on my lap actually, or they're with the tweezers, which they're not with the tweezers. Alright, well, oh wait, it's right here. See, that's how tiny and thin it is. I couldn't even see it, and it was right in front of me. So I'm going to put some glue on the needle part. Just a tiny, tiny bit. And I want that on top of the book so you can actually, if anyone were looking really close, they could see it. And maybe just, I don't know about the thread, we'll just kind of move it around, put a dot of glue on there, and let it sit. Oops. And thread being thread, of course, it doesn't want to. Okay. So I don't know how much of that you can see, but this is what we're having so far. Now I think we need one of the paper pads up here, and that's probably going to be the one that's open. It's going to run into Grandma's wall back there, but that's okay. That's fine. That'll work. It'll be all right. So we're going to put a little bit of glue on that one. I'm just going to kind of stick it like this, like she's just torn a page out of it. And as I said, that will be back against, it will be up against the wall, the cover of it. There's not much I can do about that. They are 12 by 12 paper pads. And I know this one is really, really cute, but I think we're probably just going to slide it. I'm going to turn the desk around so you can see. I think we're probably just going to slide it in this little space I left. And of course, being it's made of actual scrapbook paper, cardstock, it does not want to close, but you can see it in there. I'm just going to move it over just a little to the one side, and there would still be plenty of room for Grandma's craft mat. So I think that is about the end of what we're going to be doing here today with this. I had some hits and I had some misses, and all in all, I'm pretty pleased with the stuff I did come up with. I know I did the little needle off camera, but it was very tiny, and I also did the craft knife, but the craft knife was basically the exact same idea as the pens I did. So yeah, one more time, take a look at the little desk top. And that's what we have so far. When my mold is done and stuff, we'll probably start creating some glue bottles and other things. Thank you for joining me. I hope you all have a really great day. Bye-bye.